It's difficult when I tell the story sometimes because the emotions come flooding back up, and I realize how close we were to losing students, and that's challenging to just think about how close that was. I left Chico at 7 a.m. and as I was driving up, immediately I saw a little puff of smoke over the mountains towards the direction of Paradise. Just a little puff of smoke, and in California, seeing some smoke in the distance is just not, we see it all the time. We felt like the school day would continue and that we would be updated on the fire, and if things did get bad, we would know about it with plenty of time. At about 7:45, I got a call from a teacher who said that she had a fire at her house. She was in Upper Paradise and our school's in Lower Paradise. I thought it was unrelated to the other fire because it just didn't make sense to me that a fire could travel 10 miles in 15 minutes. I didn't really take it that seriously until about 15 minutes later when the sky started turning black and all this black soot started coming out in the sky. It was like a black snowstorm, and it was covering all the sidewalks, and we realized at that time that things were changing rapidly. We contacted parents and told them to start picking up their students. The pickup was panicky, the parents were panicked, the kids were panicked. The teachers, it was pretty amazing. We had clipboards, we had name sheets, we were tracking everyone, we were trying to maintain order in the chaos. Between 8:30 and 9:30, we got about 3/4 of the students were picked up by parents, and it was pretty frantic. It was dark, you couldn't see without a flashlight. I had to go up to the wood shop at school to find face masks to provide to teachers because we kept the students inside, but the teachers were outside, and they were trying to get students into cars, and they were breathing the sooty air, and I realized it wasn't safe, so I started handing out face masks. And we had about 50 students remaining, and we started hearing propane tanks exploding, and we heard that another school was on fire about a mile away. We were discussing options of what to do, whether to stay in the cafeteria or whether, if the fire approached the cafeteria, whether to go to our soccer field and basically lay in the field and put towels over our faces and shelter in place. Sheriff's deputy arrived. He said, everybody needs to leave, you need to evacuate immediately, kids will go in teachers' cars. And he said, seatbelt laws do not apply, stuff as many as you can in your car. We started that process. I was one of the first cars out. I had 4 students. A lot of them were reluctant to leave the school because in their mind, they get dropped off at school and picked up at school. And when we started taking them away, they were worried about their parents. Are their parents going to come to school and not find them there? I did not drive through flames. I drove through dark and raining, dark soot and smoke. But other teachers drove through flames, and I was told the route that I went down 15 minutes later was a complete inferno. I just kept talking. And I kept talking about what we were seeing and that we're going to be okay. Traffic was jammed, and one of the challenges was you're stuck in traffic, a fire's right on your tail, and you can't get out of it. So it took us a few hours, and during that time we were trying to call parents. We eventually brought 125 students from all the schools to the evacuation center, then reunited them with their parents, but some of these parents didn't show up. They were stuck in traffic for 5 hours, they were in the flames. And I just can't imagine the terror those parents had as they're driving down that hill, evacuating themselves, not knowing if their kids are still up there and they can't get to them. When they would come in and ask if their child was there, first graders, second graders, and not knowing if their child had made it down. The only thing that kept us going that day is when we did reunite a student with a parent. The tearful embrace and the relief was definitely keeping us going, keeping us energized throughout the night. I think our last student was reunited at midnight. On one hand, there was a sense of accomplishment, but there was a real sense of incompletion too, because We knew our town was destroyed. We knew our schools were damaged. And I realized how close we were to losing students. And that's challenging to just think about how close that was. And in the moment, we just did what we did. And we just helped and, just solved one problem at a time and did what we had to do. But the thought of losing a student in that sort of situation is deeply troubling and emotional to think about. We are going to build the community starting with our schools. We are completely committed as a school district to getting our kids back with their teachers and to get them learning again and to get them back with their friends. And that will be the seed that grows the future of that community moving forward as they start to move back and envision a new paradise.